I'm going to introduce. He's from New Orleans. Is New Orleans in the building? Yeah, what's am? Yeah, what's am? This is one of my great friends. He's 22 years old. He has 17 restaurants. Please put your hands together for Larry Morrow. Louder applause. He's young and he's rich. He's almost married. Beautiful daughter. How you doing, Larry? You look amazing. Is that M-line you're wearing? You fucking fashionable. Light-skinned niggas is back. All right, we got another superhero to the stage. Now, Yandy Smith-Harris is a superhero in her own right, but she's a mom and I love her. Make some noise for Yandy, y'all.
You did it the opposite way, Shane.
Yes, Lord. And she put that shit on all the time. Let me.
Love me.
How beautiful. All right, y'all. And to moderate this amazing panel, please put your hands together for Selena Hill, y'all. Selena, I love you, Selena.
Ain't bad.
Oh my God.
Big guns and a lot of zip ties. Said she look like me, quit lying.
I got good knees.
We gon' spin and kill and kill and kill.
What's up, Atlanta? Oh, hold on. I heard we was in the A. What's up, Atlanta?
What's up?
How y'all feeling? How y'all feeling? Okay, good. I can't really see y'all, but I can feel the energy because the lights are bright. But we have some bright stars in business on the stage, and they're going to be sharing all the tips. We got any entrepreneurs in the building? Make some noise. Some business owners. Let's go. Anybody got a 5-figure, 6-figure business? Make some noise.
Yeah.
Y'all scaling up to 7 figures? Okay, some money in the room. There's some money in the room. We in the right room. Okay, y'all, so we're going to start it off like this. For those who don't know, I'm going to put some respect on y'all names, okay? Starting up, we got Larry Morrow. He is a serial entrepreneur who built a New Orleans-based hospitality business portfolio that includes an event production company, 6 restaurants, a nightclub, and developing concepts across the country. Oh, Kenny said he rich. He basically runs NOLA, okay? Like,
It's true.
basically, okay? Working with his mother and business partner, they started Morrow's in 2018, which has grown to become one of New Orleans' most popular restaurants. Give it up, y'all, for Larry. And now y'all already know, do we have any love and hip hop fans in the building? Okay, we got some love, Yandy. Yandy is a multifaceted TV personality, producer, entrepreneur, and philanthropist known for her dynamic role on Love and Hip Hop New York. And shout out to New York. New York in the building. Yeah. Brooklyn in the building. Harlem in the building. Okay. She is also the visionary founder of Yell Skincare, a groundbreaking brand committed to providing affordable and clean skincare solutions. In addition to her entrepreneurial achievements, Yandy is deeply dedicated to philanthropy and advocacy. She actively supports various charitable causes using her platform and resources to drive positive change. So y'all been doing it for a while. Now we got some questions.
Okay.
So we see y'all here on the big stage, but I want to take it back just really briefly to how you got here. Larry, what was your entry point into entrepreneurship?
So for me, I'm Larry Morrow from New Orleans. How y'all doing? First off, before we get started, I just want to shout out Earn Your Leisure for just the opportunity to come, be a part of this. So
Shout out to Troy and Rashad.
Yeah, 100%. That's my guys.
Come on.
I appreciate y'all for the opportunity. But me starting off, I started off as an entrepreneur at a young age. I've always worked as my teen years from McDonald's to Finish Line, Chuck E. Cheese. I was a lifeguard, but my last job was when I was 19 years old, 19 going on 20. I was a lifeguard in the daytime and I did valet at night. But that was the last time I worked for anybody. I decided to start betting on myself. And that's when I started my clothing line. From there, I started producing events. And events, I was producing these events at an early age and making good money, but focusing more so on the relationship part of things, right? Like I would book somebody, bring them to New Orleans, not even be concerned with making money, but more concerned with building those relationships. But I didn't even realize I was planting seeds that are manifesting, today and over the years. So that's how I got my start, and I decided to dive deeper into hospitality. My mom, she's always been in the restaurant industry. But that's kind of what motivated me to just dive deeper into it after just building those relationships, starting a business with my mom at, I think, 26. So, from there, it's just something that grew.
That's amazing. And Yandy, talk to us about just your roots in entrepreneurship.
For sure. So I started when I graduated from Howard University. Shout out to the real HU. Any Bisons in the building? Okay. So when I graduated Howard, I started interning at Violator Management. That's the company that managed Missy Elliott, Busta Rhymes, 50 Cent. You name them, the hottest stars from 2003 all the way until the company, decided to end. But I loved seeing entertainment. I loved being a part of innovative ideas of putting entertainers on the stage. From there, I started working very closely with Missy and going on tour with her. And in that, I loved her creativity. I loved her innovation of how she put the different things together. And I figured if I could hone in on management and working with artists, I could be something real special. So then I started my own management company, broke off, started working with the Diplomats. And during that time, I was like, this is a TV show, Waiting and Walking and Moving. It was crazy on tour, the things that happened. So that was kind of the birth of Love and Hip Hop. It was called Something Different at the time. I pitched the show to VH1. They loved the idea. And the new iteration, after many no's, it became a yes, and the yes turned into Love and Hip Hop. And that was the start of my entrepreneurship journey. And that was also the start of me realizing that I needed to have ownership. That show creates billions and billions and billions for so many different people and enterprises and jobs when you collectively put together how much money it's made throughout the years with the different sections and the different cities and all the people that they employ, but I had no ownership. Although I was a part of the creation of it, I had no ownership. And that's when I realized anything else that I created, anything else that I did, I wanted to make sure ownership was at the forefront of everything going forward. So that's when I realized it was entrepreneurship for me, because I was tired of making worlds of other people, some that looked like me and most that did not, rich. So I decided that I wanted to have ownership so that I can employ more people that look like me and have real control and economic power.
Yes, that's amazing. That's amazing. Thank y'all for sharing that part of your journey. I do want to talk about some of the challenges, right? Because I feel like it's the ups and the downs, the webs and the flows that really teach us and strengthen us as business people. Larry, I know you opened your first restaurant, Larry's Po' Boys and Wings, when you were 22 years old. What lessons in business did you learn after opening but then closing that restaurant, and how did it make you a better business leader?
So, a lot of people don't know I did open up Larry's Po' Boys and Wings when I was 22, but it was something I was doing for my family, for my mother, just, only man in my family, just trying to create some stability at that time because we were just experiencing a lot of hardships. But that prepared me for 2018 when I opened up Morrow's, because I didn't know much about the industry prior to I was 22 at the time, right? So I opened up Larry's Po' Boys, and, it was something that was doing well, but it was just at the wrong time in my life. I was a little too young, wanted to be outside in the streets and just doing things that didn't involve being responsible. I didn't want to wake up in the morning and go to the grocery store, right? I didn't even know nothing about the business. But I made the investment. But it taught me a lot. It taught me that I need to have more capital when getting into the restaurant industry, because a lot of times you don't foresee all the other problems that you'll experience throughout the year. So,
and let's talk about that, because you're saying when you have Larry's Po' Boys, you didn't necessarily have the capital that you needed. So did you have to save up and make sure that you didn't make that mistake the next time?
So I basically went all in, right? I took all my money, put it into renovations, operating the restaurant. And sometimes you may experience a bad month or a bad 2 months, and you need the cash flow to get past those 2 months. And I didn't have it at the time because I went all in. So I didn't know that prior to opening the restaurant. So when I did open up Morrow's in 2018, I was just better prepared. I knew I had to have more capital. My brand was a lot bigger at that time, and I was just more mature. I was ready to focus and lock in and do whatever was necessary in order to see this business grow. So I think, that's one of the big challenges I face, just not knowing, I couldn't foresee the things that I needed in order to grow, grow the business. So now, it's something that, in 2018, I knew everything I needed to do it. And that was just to be just more locked in on the business, have the capital. I did those things. And, we happened to first day we had a line down the block, and that momentum just kept going up and up over the years. So, that's some of the things that really helped me and shaped me into the businessman I am today.
So are you saying that to get a line going down the block on day one, that's big, that's major. How are you building that fan base, that core base of people so that day one you're already doing business?
So I started off producing events, and I think it's building that trust with people. I was producing events with any and everybody who come to New Orleans. I would book talent like Drake, like Kenny Burns, Meek, Chris Brown, everybody you could think of. And I would build relationships with these people, but not just with them, but with New Orleans. And so when you build trust within your community, you build support. Yeah. So, and that's what I was able to do. I was able to build that trust by producing events and not being so much focused on the money, just more so about my reputation. And that really helped me establish a great brand to where when I did open up, we had a lot of support.
Yandy, I like what Larry said about, just making mistakes early on and learning from that. There's a saying in entrepreneurship, you fail fast.
Yes.
Can you talk about some of the challenges you encountered when you launched Yell Skincare?
Oh, for sure. So I think being a serial entrepreneur like myself, failure, you just learn that those are lessons, right? Like I told you before with Love and Hip Hop, not having real ownership in that brand, it was such a lesson learned. So now when I'm producing new shows, I'm making sure that my team, we're in ownership position, and I'm making sure we have the final say at the board tables. So even with Yell, when we created Yell Skincare, that was a company that came out of a need, right? At the time when I created that brand, I was struggling personally. I was going through a really bad depression, and it showed on my skin. And I felt like, I wanted to get ahead of this problem. So I went trying to find products that worked for my skin. And when I went to a very well-known chain, I realized, one, there was nothing affordable. Two, I realized that there wasn't much representation of people that looked like me. So I had to say, are you sure this works for brown skin? Are you sure this is going to work for my dark spots? And then I also realized that I couldn't pronounce anything on the back of the bottle. There was nothing that was affordable, representative of me, and that was clean. So I jumped right into it, and I started talking to different brands. And at first I wanted to white label because I felt like that was the easiest way to go. And I remember we invested money and paid some people up front for a brand that just did not work. And it was like, once you put this deposit down, you go with it or you don't, that's it. And I jumped in with not a lot of knowledge. And then we had to restructure, come back again. And I used my network, like you talked about. Relationships are so important when you're making mistakes and when you want to correct the mistakes that you've made. So in my network, we had a woman that was a master esthetician. And she came on board and really helped me cultivate some great ingredients. She helped us with what we needed to create a green line, to create something that was natural and plant-based. And after testing the product for some time, we got it right. And even in getting the product right, then it was figuring out how to market the product. I felt like, I'm on a TV show. I'm going to make sure every scene that I do, the backdrop is Yell Skincare. When I launched the brand, it was literally the day I was opening up a pop-up shop on the show. And then I was like, we're going to launch online. Everything is going to work in tandem. And boom, we're going to sell out. We probably sold about 4 units. And this is when I had, 2-3 million followers. People think because you have the following, that means it's an instant success. And that is not true. People want to know that you can stand behind your product. People want to know that you believe in your product. And they want to know that you use it and you're not just an ambassador or endorsing it. It wasn't until I figured out I have skin problems, and if I get in front of the mirror and I show the transformation in my skin, and then I also show I trust this product enough to put it on my children. So when I got in front of my mirror with my child that was 2 and my other child that was 3.5, and we started dancing in the mirror using the product, I'm like, oh, snap, we got 5 orders. Then we got 10 orders. So then I started doing it every day. Every day, me, my daughter, and my son was in the mirror dancing. And when my husband came home, he was like, you get in the mirror, you dancing with us too. And once people saw that this was a product that my whole family stood beside, that I could use on my children and feel good about it, and they see my daughter, 3 years old, using the soap on her face, the wash, and she's opening her eyes because it's gentle to the eyes, then we started getting the sales that really reflected what should have been happening from the beginning. But I had to figure out how to market that product. But I had to make all the mistakes. So, we had flyers and we had events and we did all these things. That's not what sold the product. What sold the product was me getting in front and showing that this was a trustworthy product that I could stand behind by putting it on my children and showing you that I'm using it every day.
One thing I love that y'all both have is an authentic connection to your consumers, to your base. Larry, when people think of New Orleans, they're thinking of you, they're thinking of your restaurants, they're thinking of Treehouse. And like you just said, Yandy, once you connected with your Instagram followers and they were like, oh, if Yandy can use it, then let me try it out.
Yeah.
So talk about how you really cultivated that connection and let people know that it's real and how it helped your business.
I think in the e-commerce business, it's crucial to build alliance and respect and trust with your audience. First, I think it's important to know who your target audience is. Who am I servicing? And making sure that your products resonate with that audience. And I think once you connect what the issues are and you have a solution to the problem, then people are like, okay, well, I have dark spots too. I have hyperpigmentation as well. Let me see her transformation. And if she says, because I trust her and because I trust the process that I see in front of me, let me try that as well. I think it's super important to make sure that you stand by a product that does what it says it's going to do and that you show that you're about that. Larry booked me for a party in New Orleans for Essence Fest. I'm like, my security's like, okay, we got to make sure that, and I said, this is a Larry event. I had never been booked by Larry before, but I was like, we good. Because his reputation precedes. We know that we can trust his name. We know the level, the caliber of parties. Because before I stepped in that door, I know that I could trust who he is as a business person. And I think in creating products and creating brands, once you know who your consumer is, you got to build that trust. You got to know what your cultural nuances are. You got to know, what they like, what they don't like, what they look at, what they're into. And you bleed into that when you're marketing your product.
You can repeat the question?
So just talk about, again, your connection to community, because I feel like that's been one of the key successes in your businesses, the event production, Treehouse, the restaurants. How are you really cultivating that connection to community?
I would say it's cultivating the culture, When you create culture, you're creating a shared belief of, just principle, morals, just whatever it is, it's just a community you curate. And I think just over the years, just being consistent, has helped me create a culture of, just what people believe in our product, right? Whether it's producing an event. At one point, people would see people on flyers and not believe that they'll show up. But if I put anybody on a flyer, you best believe they're going to show up. They're paid. When they show up, it's going to be an extraordinary experience. It's not going to be just, something that isn't worth it, right? So I would do these events and people will show up, perform. I may pay them for hosting, but because of the relationship we have, they may come and give me a full concert, right? So when you start to just go to all my events or come to my restaurants and you get a certain level of, you get a certain experience, y'all service or the event is pretty cool or it's dope, whatever, you just start to just understand that, the product that they're putting out isn't no bullshit, right? So I think it's just being consistent. And for the past decade, I would say that we've been consistent at putting out a great product. And there's always room for improvement, but we're not stopping at where we are. We're constantly trying to grow, constantly trying to get better, constantly doing our homework, networking. So, it's just evolution. It's going to constantly evolve,
Consistency is key. That's what I'm hearing from you, Larry. And I do want to just follow up quickly because I read that you said that you want to be the largest Black-owned hospitality group in the country. Hundreds. Oh, yes. Give it up for that.
Yeah.
Not only that ambition, but the consistency it takes to get there. How are you preparing and scaling your business to reach such a big goal?
I mean, I think once upon a time, it was such a big goal, but now it's just it's like I can see it. right? I could feel it. And I think it starts with the self-belief, but also building a community of belief around you, right? Like my whole team, everybody who, walks this journey with me, they believe. And when you got people on your team that believe as much as you, how can you lose? And I believe that we're like extremely wealthy in the sense of resources, relationships. I invested a lot of time and money into, showing up at events like this, networking at an early age. I would hop on a flight immediately to fly to another city to connect the dots. And I still do that to this day, right? So I've been very consistent at just, and very intentional, right? Like coming to these events, connecting with people, and build my resources up. So at this point, when I speak that, it's me. It's a goal I want to manifest, but it's something that I see clearly because what's going to stop me at this point? Right? I think it's a situation between me and the good man above. Is like, what can stop me from accomplishing that goal? I got great mentorship, right? I got brothers like Kenny Burns. I got Cannon Jasper, Mike Novogratz, David Berry, Mel Carter. I got great people in my corner that want to see me win. So I think, all it takes now is just being consistent, sacrificing, and just constantly grinding.
Speaking of constant grinding, Yandy, you've been on the grind forever. I don't know if you mentioned, but you used to intern for Mona Scott Young back in the day. You were weren't you writing for Black Enterprise? Yeah. You was doing all the things. Your grind and hustle has not stopped. Talk about just, starting to build relationships and planting those seeds and how it really helped you in your journey where you are today.
I think evolution in my career has been key. And everywhere, in every place you touch, you want to leave a mark, right? I remember working for Black Enterprise, writing for Black Enterprise, and getting really close with one of the editors and chiefs. And now we're friends to this day. Like, I think it's super important to be impactful, to be intentional, like you said, and also make sure that when you step aside, people can see the traces of the things that you've left. You want to make sure that when you walk into these spaces, you're making a difference. Like, what did Yandy being in this space or in this room do for this company? What did it do for this brand? What did it do to elevate our people? And I think having that mindset for me has been really, really important. And it's really helped shift every career change that I've had. So right now, I was talking to Larry backstage. I have a restaurant here in Atlanta. It's called Dancing Crepe. So when you guys are done here, feel free to come over to Dancing Crepe this weekend. But building relationships with people that have been there. I'm never the smartest girl in the room, but you best believe I'm gonna stand beside one. And I think that is what's helped me navigate my life in so many different positions and careers. I built an amazing team. And every step of the way, I make sure whomever I'm standing next to is smarter than me. Whoever I got in front of me and whoever I got behind me is smarter than me, so that we can pull and push forward the community, the culture. And I think that's been really, really important for my career. And it's been important for me to bring the community along with me, because I think collectively we can do so much more than we can do separately.
Shout out to your new restaurant, by the way. One more time, let the people know.
So it's called Dancing Crepe. It's at the historic Underground Atlanta. It's right next door to my skincare store called Yale Skincare. I told y'all, everything is about ownership right now. So I'm trying to own the block. So if you are at the Underground, feel free to come over. I got 2 stores there, my restaurant and my skincare store. We going up out here in Atlanta.
I know that's right. And Yandy, let's talk about that, because, when you think about having 2 brick and mortars, right? The challenges that come with that rather than just selling online. What made you say, let me open up a restaurant and let me open up a store?
So both were very personal for me. So Yale Skincare, for me, it's all about the culture of being all natural and plant-based. When you walk into the store, you feel like you're in the Garden of Eden. You completely get it, right? And I work there. My office is in the back. My mother is in the front of the house. My sister's there if my mother's not there. It's really a business that's rooted in family. It's organic. It's authentic. And I wanted it to be a place where me and my family can commune as well as get money together. Everybody that I've had worked for me in this business have been people that have been with me along the journey. Most of the people in my businesses don't necessarily have background in that business, but I wanted to make sure as I crawled, as I walked, as I ran, I took the people with me that was sitting on the sidelines when nobody wanted to let us in. So right now, when we crawl in and we walk in and we running together, I want to make sure we flying high together. So it was important for me to establish an office and also use that office as a space where I can create the culture of what Yale Skincare was about. Next door is Dance and Crepe. We created Dance and Crepe during COVID. So when you come in the restaurant, it's all booth style seating. And we wanted to have a place where people can convene and they can commune. And then we have a stage because my background is entertainment. So we have poetry night, we have R&B night, and we do a bunch of things to put creatives on the stage, but then I also wanted it to be private. Atlanta really never shut down during COVID, but I wanted to create a space that was safe with good food, entertainment, where people could come and enjoy. And it's hard. Right now, literally, I had someone texting, as soon as you get off the stage, we need you back at the restaurant.
Wow.
As soon as I get up the stage, I'll be back at the restaurant because it's a business that literally is owned and ran by me. So I am the chef sometimes. I am the front of the house. Tonight, I'm going to be the front of the house manager. I am the leader of karaoke night. If there's something stuck in the toilet, I've had to clean the toilet, okay? And that is what happens when you decide to take on this journey of entrepreneurship. We make it look so pretty, but the real entrepreneurs are in this room, right? This is InvestFest. These are not people that don't know the grind and know the business. We know that we're going in the bathroom to move a clog. We know that we're in the kitchen if need be. We know that we are mopping floors if need be. And I think really having these brick and mortars were important and essential for me because my children see it. You know, my mom, my husband, my sister, we all are in this business together. And when the family goes, the family wins together.
Amazing, amazing. Can you relate to some of those experiences with your restaurants? Did you have to wear all those hats as well, Larry?
Yeah, in the beginning when we first opened up, you know, I used to run food. I used to, you know, bust tables. I used to actually put on a uniform and really come to work. Back in 2018, we opened up Morrow's. Yep. As time went on, you know, every time I open up a new restaurant, you'll catch me running food, busting tables, just doing the whole nine. As of lately, I haven't had to do it as much because I have a lot of support. You know, we 500 plus employees, 7 locations. So we've been able to build, you know, an infrastructure to where we have layers, you know, we have tiers. Before anything come to me, it'll go to my managers, I'll go to, you know, different people. So I definitely had to experience it, but I'm always for, you know, doing whatever, whenever, you know. That's one thing about entrepreneurship. There's times where I have to cut back on doing certain things because my overhead is, you know, extremely crazy. And we scaled up so fast, you know. In the past, since COVID, we opened up 6 locations. One more location to open up in the next couple months. So, you know, it's been a grind. It ain't been pretty. Sometimes it looked pretty, like you said, but it's not. You know, it takes a lot of hard work, dedication, a lot of days where you're just not feeling like yourself or you want to give up. But I think one of the things that helped us get over that hump is just the consistency.
Yeah.
It is a consistency. And Larry, I read that you funded your business with $300,000 in startup capital, and it has since gone on to earn multi-million dollars annually. So I want to ask you both, starting with you, Larry, what advice would you share with entrepreneurs who don't have that access to funding to invest in a business?
So when I opened up Morrow's in 2018, it cost around $300,000, and it was something that, like, I wanted to do it a certain way. I was making a lot of fast cash from my events. I don't think I can open up a restaurant with $300,000 at this point because things are much more expensive, you know, and just my expectations have grown. So, but I would say for anyone who wants to open up a business, you got to take that jump. Don't be afraid. When I made that investment, I was doubling down on myself and my mother to really just create something within our family. So I would say that definitely just figure out what it is that you want to do. You can make a lot of investments, but sometimes they don't turn out the way you want. You got to be okay with that. But even after not doing so well when I was 22, that investment didn't stop me from making this investment. I'm so glad I did make this investment because this investment has not only changed my life, but it changed my family's life. So I wouldn't be afraid. I believe in taking those risks, staying consistent, and, you know, just keep God first. Just continue to grind. Find that regimen, that daily regimen. I wake up early in the morning, and I keep the same regimen, right? Even if I leave town, I come back, I start the same regimen over again because I've learned that just the consistency has helped me really shape my life, so
Yeah.
that's some of the things for sure.
Yandy, how much did you have to invest into Yell to get it off the ground? Did you have to make a big investment?
I didn't. I think in the beginning, I spent maybe $6,000. That was that
Wow.
company that I told you I put out money and then I didn't get the product I wanted, so I had to pivot and do something else. I don't think it always takes a whole lot of money. There are so many people in this room that I'm sure started their business with $1 and a dream. And there are some of us that really take that dollar and we extend it and we expand it and we twist it, we break it down to 15 cents, 20 cents. And I think that it's important, one, to believe in yourself. I think it's important also, again, I can't stress how important a team is. And in the beginning, sometimes that team is going to have to work for free because they believe in you. And the money is in the resources, the money is in the experience and the knowledge that you guys put together, and you pull that together. And that is where the company startup, that's the startup, right? It might not be financial. Sometimes it's in a pool of ideas, a pool of relationships, but you got to start with at least that if you don't have the funding. With Yell, it was again, like I said, it was a tumultuous time in my life. So I didn't want to put up a whole bunch of money because I was a new mom. I had 2 little babies. My husband had just left, and I needed to just get my stuff together. But I had this thing in my belly that wanted to birth this new skincare line. And I said, I'm going to put this $6,000 up. I'm going to order this product and invest and see what happens. Eventually, from that six grand, it turned into, we had to use a portion of that to develop this line. And we might have only, instead of getting 300 products, we might have been able to get 30. Once we sold the 30, we reinvested that money, and then we got 100 the next time. After we got 100 pieces, we reinvested that money, got 300. Now that this company is worth about $15 million, it's constantly growing. We just got in Bloomingdale's, which was huge for us.
Congratulations.
Thank
Congrats.
you. But even doing that, right, even going the route of big box retail, it was scary because I'm like, oh my gosh, we're going to get these POs that are, millions of dollars of POs, and then the return might be 45, 90-day net. And understanding, like, my way into retail was different. They didn't make me do those big orders, right? And I think sometimes being okay with pivoting from the norm and not just settling for status quo, but being innovative in your ideas with how you want to do your business, being resourceful in ways that hey, listen, I have this idea, Bloomingdale's. This is how I want to come into the stores. And being, aggressive yet confident to know that your idea is going to work. And every single time, so I go into Bloomingdale's, and you guys see me post about it, I go in at least once a month for a week. I'm there all day. Like, I work at Bloomingdale's. I am the highest selling cosmetic brand on the Bloomingdale's floor every single time that I'm there.
Come on.
But I made a conscious decision to do that in exchange for them buying these big people. I come in and I sell my products. We just had a call yesterday with one of the head buyers, and she's like, we absolutely love what you're doing. We want to expand you in more stores. But that's because I took a non-conventional approach to me being in big box retail. And sometimes you gotta bring a little swag to the table, and they'll get it if you're really in there being resilient, if you're really in there sacrificing, because I got things to do. But I'm there for 5-6 hours out the day because I know that this is what's going to make my brand stand apart from every other brand. I was literally between Hermes and it was another brand, Bond Number 9. Who don't know Hermes and Bond Number 9? Everybody knows those brands. Yell Skincare was directly in the middle of those brands, and we sold more products than them. And that's because I came in here with a clear goal and a vision of how I was going to market my product and how I was going to stand out amongst everyone else on the shelves. It was noise around me. I said, with all this noise, I'm going to make sure I stand out. Let me put on my good pink dress. Let me make sure I'm here and I know my brand and I'm talking about it.
I know that's right. And speaking of standing out, Larry, talk about what you had to do to make sure that your businesses, your events, your restaurants, your club stood out and became sort of this marquee in New Orleans. How did you approach that so that it was different? And what advice would you give to the entrepreneurs in this room about how they can make their own marks in their respective industry?
I would say, as far as just like when it pertains to nightclubs, I would do market research, right? I would travel to Miami. Shout out to Headline. I would go see what he's doing in Miami. I would travel to Houston, go check out A-Life. Atlanta, I would come see AG and Jabbar and Brick, and I would just see what everybody's doing. And so that would inspire me to go back to New Orleans and just kind of create what I've seen, because we're so far behind when it pertains to nightlife, when it pertains to restaurants. We're such a traditional city. And me coming to Atlanta, I remember being in my early 20s and being in Gold Room, looking up, just not enjoying the party, but enjoying the scenery. Looking at what I wanted to create. I promise you, I would not even worry about partying. They got a picture that a homie of mine like took. I would just stand up, just looking at everything AG created, and I was so motivated and inspired by that. But I would just say, for any entrepreneur out there, you got to really do your market research. You got to really see what's going on out there, because that's really helped me stand out by adding my own flair to it, but seeing what's going on in the world. I've been blessed to travel to some great places and just be inspired, but everywhere I go, I'm being intentional. I'm taking pictures of everything. I'm taking videos of everything, because when you're across the country or in another country and you see certain things, like no ideas are there's ideas for you to just take home from all over. And, I would just take those and add my own ideas to it. And like I said, New Orleans is a very traditional place. So me going out there and just doing my homework, doing my research, having mentors in the industry that can give me information and advice on how to do it, but incorporating that with the nightlife, bringing people in town to host my events, and then come by the restaurant. And thank God the food is amazing, to where, it would stick, right? So it became like a regimen to where people will fly in town and gotta come to Morrow's, right?
Food tastes like Jesus made it.
I gotta give you some of that next time I'm in Nova.
No. We gonna be out here in Atlanta. We're projecting the next year and a half to 2 years we'll be here. We'll be in Houston next year, though.
Amazing. And you going national, all
100%,
over.
100%.
All over. I love that.
We will be the largest black hospitality group in the country.
I know that's right. Yes. So we do have to begin to wrap it up. But before we do, if you could just talk to the audience, let them know, what does it really take to get a business to be successful, to get to your level, to get in Bloomingdale's, to become national, to get the big partnerships? What is it that you want to leave with them?
I think for me, it was understanding that the no, the closed doors, the windows that are shut, those no's are an abbreviation for just not right now, right? Just not right now. Certain things happen in God's timing, and it happened right when it's supposed to happen. That is perfect timing for you. So I think being persistent, being resilient, and being able and willing to pivot, right? Understanding the market, understanding what's out there, what's trending, what's new, but then creating and remixing it to fit whatever it is that you're doing. I think that is the key for longevity. You don't always get to have, $1 million to start your business. All of us are not born with a silver spoon in our mouths. Some of us really had to get it out the dirt. I'm from the projects in Harlem. My parents from the projects in Harlem, their parents from the same projects in Harlem. I had to get it out the dirt, but what I knew was that I was not going to have my children in the dirt. And that was enough motivation for me to push. So every no that I got, it was just a not right now. And I had to respect that. In the beginning, it's frustrating. It's I want to give up. It's, dang, why is it so hard for me? But I realized with the first 15 to 50 no's that it was like, damn, it just wasn't right then. When I created Love and Hip Hop, and it was called Keeping Up with the Joneses, and Jim Jones, when I was managing, he's like, I don't want to do this show no more. And I'm like, these white people done gave me all this money. You think we gonna turn down this development deal? We doing something. And Keeping Up with the Jones later on became Love and Hip Hop. But it was a no. He said, I'm not doing it. And it was a no. And I had to figure out and pivot. And I was crying and I was upset. And I went to Mona, who was my old boss at the time. I said, Mona, I'm about to lose my development deal. These people done gave me this money, and now my client don't want to do the show no more. And she's like, well, why don't we come together? I got this show I've been pitching. And, we collectively came together. That's why I always say collaboration over competition is so freaking important. because that was my old boss. I could have been like, I got to show. I ain't asking Mona for help. I got something to prove. And I did feel like I had something to prove to her, but I knew in that moment I needed her, right? So we came together, and now 15 years later, Love and Hip Hop is still one of the most, highly rated shows on the Viacom network. But that started out with a no. So for me, it's really understanding and recognizing that no's just means sometimes not right now. And that's okay. That is okay. Sometimes man rejection is God's protection. And I've been protecting a whole lot in this business.
Amen. Larry, we want to get your final words. How can you what should people do to remain motivated? Those, maybe they did really well last year, but this year, because of inflation, the economy, the business is not booming. They can't connect to consumers. What advice would you give?
I would say, definitely getting out your comfort zone. I'm always motivated when I'm not just within my city or when I'm outside networking, connecting with different people. Sometimes you got to book that high-ass hotel room and be on the top floor to overlook the city to motivate yourself. Sometimes you got to book that first-class flight and might be on side of the next person you might be doing business with. Sometimes you got to be willing to just make those investments and those trips across the country to see something other than what you normally see. So I think, to stay motivated, I'm constantly grinding. I'm constantly surrounding myself with people that, that's in the industry that I'm in that I'm motivated by. For example, I had a friend of mine that Kenny Burns connected me with named Chris. He owns a mental health care business. He had a friend who's in hospitality, owned 50 restaurants, doing $250 million a year. He said, man, I got a friend that I think you should connect with. He connected me with him, and I'm like, yo, I can set up a Zoom call. We can have some conversation. We get on a Zoom call the other day for an hour. And so you talk about motivation. It's like you got to put yourselves in those positions by networking, So the people who are here sitting in the audience, obviously they're serious about their craft, so you got the potential. You're more likely to meet somebody that you can connect with versus somebody who doesn't get out the house or somebody who isn't investing their time or energy into networking. That's been a huge part of my success. So, it's simple. You got to surround yourself with people that, that's in the industry you're in, or just people that just can inspire you.
That's so true. And I love how you said that, because we have to be intentional with our time, intentional with the people that we surround ourselves with. And when we are in spaces, you don't turn off. You said you was in a club taking notes, like, I like that piece of artwork. I like how they position the bathroom here. You gotta constantly just remain like that tunnel vision, right? Because when you're in that zone, some call it the zone of genius, then you can't help but to see what you need to see. You can't help but to meet that person that you need to meet. You can't help but to get to that next level because you're already moving. You already have that traction.
Right.
And I love how you said that. And Yandy, like you said, not every no is just a no. It is God's protection. And sometimes it forces us to just, like you said, pivot, go around and figure something else out. Sometimes it forces us to become more creative and more strategic. And I just want to end by saying this because I'm so inspired by y'all stories, by your success. Thank y'all for sharing your challenges and also being vulnerable. And I want to say that last year, when I was looking at Terrence J and Lala on this stage, and I said to myself, I want to be on that stage. And shout out to Troy and Rashad for setting this up, because I just had a moment. But it just goes to show that dreams do come true. Remain consistent. Just remain in the grind, keep that hustle, and keep the right people around you, and keep God first, and any and everything is possible. Thank you.